everybody. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. I'm Gabe Salazar, the new artistic advisor in residence for GALA Choruses. Excited to be here and work with all of you. Today we're going to have John and Braeden share a little bit about our new AI technology for practice tracks. So with that, I'm going to give it to you guys and let you take it away and let you present and share what you found out.
Sure. So just to tell, I think I'm gonna know almost everybody except Pittsburgh Pride Choir. I'm afraid we haven't met yet.
Hey John, it's formerly Renaissance City Choir. We just changed our name. So as of July 1 now, Pittsburgh Pride Choir.
Uh,
Kim.
Kim, thank you. Thank you. Just to let you know, what I'm going to show you today is Ace Studios. And the reason I'm showing you that is because it showed up in my Facebook feed, like every third ad was for these people. And so I thought, well, I'll try it. And sure enough, it was relatively easy to use. It is not the only thing by long shot that you can use. David Maddox has recommended another piece of software that we are actually implementing as well. I'm just not the one implementing it. We have somebody who really enjoys diving headfirst into software. So he took my Dorico license and is now is producing tracks with it and doing a pretty good and quick job for it. The learning curve on it is much steeper, but after you get relatively proficient with it, I think it actually produces a better product than Ace, but it's way harder to learn. So with that, so I'm going to show you, oops, and I've done the wrong thing. Hang on. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. All right, now share my screen. All right, so I'm going to show you, you should see on here, I'm in this particular thing, this is a version of that Eric Connectus did for Revelation, Troye Sivan's Revelation. So I simply took the file, I scanned it in, did a conversion using let's see, what is the name of that program that I used to do that? Smart Score 64 to get it into something that I could then import directly into Finale. The one thing that you need to know about whatever you're going to do in your notation software is you have to have one track or one voice, one line per voice. When you get over to Ace Studios, Ace cannot understand if you've got for a voice that you've got two notes. It doesn't understand what to do that, so it will only play one. I don't know if it plays the upper or the lower, but it will only play one. It doesn't do Tibetan throat singing. So, so even if you've only got one note that's different, it has to be on a separate line if you want it to appear in a track somewhere later. So all I do is put it all in. I make sure that my words are right, the whole 9 yards. It's nothing, you don't have to do anything in particular weird to it. I will say that every once in a great while, like if this were Latin, then the text that I've got here, if I just like O Magnum Mysterium, if I put that in O Magnum Mysterium, when Ace gets a hold of it, it says O Magnum Mysterium or something. It really butchers the pronunciation. You can fix that in Ace, or you can just fix it here. Figure out the spelling that works better, and then use that. So Magnum, instead of spelling Magnum, M-A-G-N-U-M, you might spell it M-A-H-N-Y-U-M, and it'll figure out what to do with that. So that's just the whole, but as long as you're working with English or Spanish or Chinese, it's going to be just fine. I have not tried anything like French. I can't imagine what that would be like. So I'm not going to do that. So all you have to do at this point is export this as a music XML. So, and you've got a couple of options when you do that. Where do I have it? Export. So export as music XML, And then at least in Finale, you have the opportunity to do a compressed or just a plain old music XML file or just an XML file. And I do as music XML file. I'm not sure what a compressed file does or doesn't do. And so I get pretty consistent results if I do it this way. And so you just save it as an XML file. Now, if this were an a cappella piece, I'd be done. But in this case, it isn't. I still want to have, I want to cancel that, so I don't need to do it again. I still need this piano part. So I have to export it separately. And all I do for that is I suppress the other voices or I solo the piano part and then just export it as as a MIDI. You can export it as a WAV file or an AAIF or anything that comes out of it. Basically, it does just fine. I've not had any particular better luck with one than the other. So just to be clear, you have to export it twice. You have to export everything as a music XML, and then you either solo or silence mute the other lines, and then export that as a MIDI or a WAV file, whatever. Is that clear? And then you're done in the notation software. This is where I actually end up spending most of my time, is getting it in and getting it right, because the scanning software sucks. You just can't depend on it.
And John, you're exporting the piano part as a MIDI file, not as an XML file?
Correct.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Correct. Now, it might work also as an XML file, but when I get it, I haven't tried it that way. It was just easier to do it this other way, and it was like, boom, it was done, and I can make it work. All right, then you go over to Ayres Studios. Now, I'm going to close this. Let me save this project. And I'm going to start a new one. All right, so when you get into Ayres Studios, this is what it looks like. It gives you two tracks. It gives you a voice track and an audio track. That audio track is where you would be stuffing the MIDI file or the instrumental file. So the first thing you want to do is simply import your XML file. And so you're going to import music XML for singer tracks.
I think you need to change your screen.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for saying that. Yikes. Stop share. I see it. Why can't you see it? All right, now can you see it? Okay, great. So when you get in, you have these two tracks that are default. Just for the time being, you can leave them alone. You're going to get rid of them in a minute. Then you just go to File and then Import Music XML for Singer Track. Okay? And then you go down, and here is that Music XML file that I saved a little while ago. And I open it up, and it asks me a question. Do you want to apply the tempo and signature from the importing MIDI file? Say yes. I will tell you that I have not found that it, if you do that, I think it will import tempo changes. Now, I have to say that I haven't done anything with a lot of tempo changes in it, so I'd have to go back and really review that. I know that that's a problem with some other software, is that tempo changes don't translate, but I think they do here. So then it just plops everything in. Now you can see here, you may not can see here, but the voices that I had named in each of the staves as it came across. So I've got tenor 1 upper, tenor 1 lower, tenor 2, baritone, bass 1, bass 2, and then part 5. Part 5 was the piano part. So I'm going to get rid of it because it won't work. So I just right click and then delete it. So now at this point I have voices with words and everything. And at this point I can just play. Now this has got the piano introduction, but tell me if you all can hear this, because if you can't, then I need to change. You give me just 1 second. Here it goes.
You're a revelation. Won't you liberate me now from a holy bound.
So I've already got words. Now, if you listen to the whole thing, you might be satisfied with it. Then that might be good. And in 5 minutes, you've created tracks. That, I mean, literally, you could be done. I think you can improve the product. So I'll do that. So now I want to import that piano track. Easy done. You just go File, Import, and then I'm going to import audio. And then I'm just going to drop that in. Where did it go? Here I've done it as a WAV file. So I'm going to import that, open it up, and it plops it down at the bottom, so it's easy to find. Now, I will tell you, every once in a while, I've run into some alignment issues, that it's like it shifts it a quarter of a beat one way or the other. And if that's the case, because now we all know how to do audio editing because of pandemic, you can just go in and look at the waveform, and you can figure out what you need to shift. If you need to shift all the voices, over a little bit, or if you need to shift the piano part one way or the other, and chop off the beginning or whatever. But now I'll play this. So now I've got everything. And here it goes. And boom, 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 boom. Here we go.
You're a revelation. Won't you liberate me now from a holy bound?
So, boom. Boom. Now, I will say the kinds of things that I find that it will goof every once in a while on are it's even though I'm pulling in the same, everything's coming out of the same XML file, every once in a while it will align a voice wrong, which is really strange. Like, I might get over here and you can see that everybody comes back in together the same right here. But for some reason, this voice here might come in early. So you do exactly what you do in other audio software. You go in, you select it, you split it, and then you move it. And it's really simple. So it occasionally messes it up, but it's usually just like it has to do with rest or something. So you just and fix it. It just takes a second to do it. And it really functions just exactly the same as any other audio software. Although looking here visually, it all looks like this one didn't have that problem. So, okay. Now we're going to improve the product. Rather than work with this file, I'm going to I did this earlier, and so I'm going to open that one because it's a little bit faster. Final. Do not save that. Okay. So this is all the same. It's just I have done a little bit of messing with it. So the first thing that I've found is that you want to change who it is that's on your who is singing. So you get all of these voices down here. It says pre-made voices, and there are 76 of them. And you can come down here and you can see like Yun Hao, but Yun Hao is male but only speaks Chinese. And I will say that when you have Yun Hao sing English, Yun Hao sings English with a Chinese accent. And so the same with the folks who speak Spanish is they tend to sing with some sort of a Spanish accent. I don't know particularly from which country, but it clearly has an accent. Which might make it work better for something like Latin, because they'll have purer vowels. So you might want to select those voices. I didn't try that. You can also go out here. Do you see where it says customize voice, or say customize now? You can go out. They have a whole bunch of voices that are, that exist on a website that you can just download, maybe 100 different voices. And you just pull those down as you like. You can They come in, well, let me share that screen. Hang on. Here we go. So, so you just go to, I can't see the screen. Hold on a minute. So browse all public voices, and then here are all these that come up, and you can find, you can filter by timbre, genre, what language you want them to speak, what their age is, you know, and go from there. And they'll give you samples, and so you can pull those in, and it just plops them in. Now, let me show you the ones that I did. Let me go back. So the ones that I pulled that I like, I pulled, I think all of the male voices I pulled. So I pulled Carl and Landon and Sienna Blue and Maverick and all these. And I'm still experimenting, but I'm getting um, pretty good results with these. I kind of like what I'm getting. So all you have to do if once you do this is you click one of these, and like let's say I'm gonna add Franklin to this. All you'd have to do is click and drag him over. Whoops, I did, except you got to click and drag, and I didn't do that. Oh, sorry, plus Franklin. There we go. And there's Franklin. Now Franklin is in my mix. So what I'm doing is at this point is you've got two different choices about how you create a voice or this track in Ace. You can blend voices together, and in this case, I've got Dex and Clara, who's a female voice, and Franklin, and they come out as one voice. It just, I don't know exactly how it does that, but it does. And then you can then determine how much of the mix is really going to result from Drex as opposed to Franklin. Right now, Franklin's got he's only going to get a minor, but I can put him up like that, and now he gets more of an influence on the final product. One of the things that I have found is this style thing here. When you are listening to these, one of the things that will immediately come to your ear is it goes revolution right on mid, and so there's lots of slides, especially at the beginning of pitches that will drive you absolutely nuts. That seems to be linked to this here, and so if you're mixing voices and you lower that, then it makes it a little less obvious to my ear. So, let's see. So, that's how you create a voice blend. Now, the other things that you would want to do with that is you want to oh, come on, you want to just change. I think it's important to change the EQ, and the reverb level. Otherwise, it sounds really awful. So it's very simple. So you've got this voice up. So we're working with this blended voice. So I go to FX for the effects. I increase the low and the high. I change this voice EQ to choir. There's a preset for choir and a solo and bright, lead, but that just really sort of affects the brightness of the voice. It doesn't make a ton of difference, but I just set it to choir, and then I add about a 15% reverb on it. Much more than that, and it's too much, and a lot less than that, and it gets a little too dry. But those are the only three things really you have to change in the FX. So it's pretty easy. You do have to do it for each voice. You can't do it for all of them together. The other thing that I like to do is you have to, this slider bar here determines the volume of that voice in the overall mix. And I put it sort of in the middle to try to figure out, what's going on about -17, -18, something like that. Usually it's a good place to start. And then if there's something going on later that doesn't really mix very well, then you can pump it up or pull it down. This here is the pan. And if I'm just listening to it and trying to create a nice mix for that includes all the voices, then I'll pan them across the field of sound so that it sounds fuller and it's just more effective. And you got that from all that editing you did during pandemic. And then you're ready. And this is how this sounds now. And if it's a little different than the first one was. I think you'll hear it.
You're a revelation. Won't you liberate me now from a holy bound?
So all those scoopy things are a lot more controlled. I've got a nicer vibrato, a rounder voice.
You're a revolution. I will liberate you now as the walls come down.
That's it. I mean, it's really, you can stop at this point and export it and off you go. Let me cover one other thing though that I have found it is too much. I have a good MacBook that's only about a year and a half old, but this choir mode takes a lot of machine cycles, and it doesn't really work all that well for me. What choir mode allows you to do is to take all of these 100 voices and then populate a room with them individually, so that the sopranos, you can take 15 of these voices and place them, and it handles them differently than blending them into a single voice. But I just found that it took so many machine cycles that it was never rendering, and I couldn't hear it. And after a while, it then when it replays it back to you, it stutters real badly, and it just got on my nerves. So I don't do that anymore. When you're ready to export it, you're satisfied that everything is what you want.
Hey,
Then
John, can I
Yep,
ask a question before you export?
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
maybe you're going to come back to this, but let's say a word is pronounced wrong and I want to tweak the word. I don't see any lyrics here.
Well, yeah, we can get you some lyrics. Watch this. So I'm going to get rid of this mixer here so I have a little bit more room. So I'm going to select my tenor 1 line, and I go down here and open the waveforms. So now you see all of this here. When I expand, just so you know, when you expand this window down here, it doesn't necessarily track with that one up there. Oh, come on. So you see how I'm expanding here, but the top part is not expanding. So there are ways to do it. So you see where you've got these little chunks of text like ooh 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 ah. You can find those texts and just go in and say, okay, I don't want that one to be ooh, I want that one to be la. And poof, it's done. It finds it and it makes all the change that you wanted to it. But let's say that you didn't want it to be la, but you wanted it to be lay or lee or something, and you didn't want to mess it with it there, but you found it right here. Or because of the tessitura you want to change, I don't know what you want to do, but you go in here and find the note that's making the thing, that's find the note that you want to change, and then there's the phoneme is up above it. And in this case, la is spelled L space AA. And I could do LAI, for instance, and it gives me red because that's not a legitimate one. I wonder if that's one. Yes, LAO. So now it's going to go low or low, probably. There's a page in the help files that says if you want it to sound like this, spell it like this when you're messing with the phonemes. I find that it is not does not cover every sound that English needs to make. So it is, there are some real basic vowels that are going to come out funny, and you can't fix them. Um, uh, and that's just the way it is. There is also, you cannot make it hum. You have to have a vowel in the phoneme. You can't make it go it won't do it. So
And is this what we're looking at? Is this the phonetics for one voice line, or is this all of them stacked?
one voice line. If you want to
Okay.
change the line for that one, you do that.
So if I want to make the same change in 8 different voices, I need to do that by hand for all of them. Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah,
figured.
that's why I find it easier sometimes to make that change in the finale file, because then it just does it, and then you don't have to screw with it anymore. And honestly, because it's so easy to do this, to do the importing and whatnot, if you import it once and you go, wow, magnum is not pronounced magnum, um, I'll just go and make a universal change in the thing and re-import it. So, um, but that's really all there is to that. And then once you're trying to get rid of that, just remember you go over here to the close button, and then that all goes away. When I'm going to bring the mixer back up. When I'm exporting, I find that most people are listening to this in their car. So what I do is, for each voice that I'm doing, I crank up the volume for it, and I turn it all the way to the left, to the driver's side of the car, and then I put all the other voices on the right, full, all the way on the right. So they're on the passenger seat of the car. And then when they're playing it back, their voice is much more isolated by them because they're driving in the car. And then you have to export it one for each voice, but it goes really fast. And just be sure to name them, and then you're done. I have created, like for this one, for Revelation, I was able to go from nothing to creating the finale file to having excuse me, to having tracks that were completely usable in 40 minutes. If you've already got, and if it were to pull clean, when you pull it into translate it from a scan file into the notation software, if it comes through cleaner than the one I'm using, you could be done faster.
John, can I ask a question?
Please ask all the questions you like.
Um, if you wanted to split this up into sections, so when I do practice tracks, I normally split them up depending on the length of the song into maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 different sections, so people
Oh.
don't listen to this whole song at once.
Mhm.
Would you have to like delete and do them as, obviously you'd have to do them as all separate files, but how do you think you'd handle that? Bring everything in and then cut away what you didn't want, export that?
Honestly, probably what I would do is, let me look, export range, a loop. Apparently you don't have to export the whole thing. You can export a loop, and it starts and gives you a start and an end
Okay,
time.
awesome.
Who knew that
Thank
you
you.
could do that? Yeah, I've never done that before, so I don't know. You can also do it in different formats. You can do it as a WAV or an MP3. WAV is higher fidelity, but it's also enormous, and it's not terribly portable.
I have a question.
Yes.
Actually, a couple of questions. First of all, I want to circle back to what you were saying about the choir mode.
Yes.
I don't know if I heard you right, but I've manufactured in my head that there are 2 versions of choir mode. There's one that's the high rendering version that you talked about, where all the singers are placed in the room, and the other is where you can collapse singers into a single voice, and that's choir mode or not?
That is not choir mode. That is just creating a blended voice. And
Okay.
you can save those voices, by the way, that, like I like this Drex and Clara. That sounds good for me to my ears. So I
Yeah.
just save it, and then it's always now in my pre-made vocal mixes, and I just go and it's there for every song as long as I use it.
That you want to use that. Okay, great. So the I noticed that in the screen we're seeing, the turn on choir mode is highlighted blue, and that therefore implies that it is not on. And if
That
you were to turn it on, it improves the sound, but at a big, big cost.
I don't know that it improves the sound either.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Changes it, but
Good.
I
I'm glad
don't
to
know that it
clarify that.
improves it. I
The
can I can show you what it does.
No, it's all right. I believe you.
That's all right. It'll take 30 seconds to demonstrate it. So now I give you a field where here's your microphone and the center of the room is right here. And
Yeah.
so now I start just bringing these people and dropping them in.
I see.
And so now I've got, they're all, and so you see now I've got 4 pink dots
Yeah.
for these 4 people that I dropped in, and now I can move them around and,
Cool.
so that then this next voice, turn on choir mode and add them. I'll add Franklin and Drex, and now I've got red dots, and I'm going to put the tenors over here. So yeah, it lets you do that and move them around the room, but there is an enormous cost in machine cycles.
Right. And for our purposes, or when I say our, for practice recording purposes, you can accomplish pretty much the same thing with just panning the tracks. Enough, anyway. Okay. So my big question, earlier in the summer, I delved into ACE based on the previous demonstration and was really inspired by the technology, and even used it for one of our practice recordings. But I did get thoroughly tangled up in that translation from the score to ACE, because we're a really big choir and paper is significant. More and more of us are moving to tablets, but not everybody. In 10 years, we're having a different conversation about this, I'm sure. But right now, we're using a lot of paper. And so I do my very best to get a 13-page score down to like 4. And that requires, a fair amount of fuss with the notation. And heretofore, that's been worth it. So I'm challenging that assumption for the arrangements I'm writing going forward. But you had mentioned something at the head of the discussion about Smart Score 64. And I don't know anything about that.
Well, I'll be glad to demonstrate that if you like. Let me stop this sharing. It's pretty straightforward. Let me open it up here. I will tell you that I have inconsistent results with it, and that sometimes it works really well and sometimes it just doesn't. All right, so let me open this for you real quick. Where did you all go? There you are. Where's share screen? Okay, sorry. Smart Score. I think this is it. Okay, so move you all over there. So all I have to do is browse a file. Let's pull up something that's not quite that crazy. Give me a second. Okay, I'm going to open up Livin' La Vida Loca. Did it
We just did it.
crash or where did it go? Okay, you all are looking at the wrong screen now. Hang on a second. Let me share the right screen. So it's telling me that it already exists. I don't care. It creates a TIFF file. I'm just going to use the file rather than convert it. And now what are you all seeing? Nothing. You're seeing nothing again.
No, We saw it. We did see it. We
you?
saw an image editor.
Okay. I'm sorry. This phone's
Not it.
okay. So here you go. All right. So you're seeing Live in La Vida Loca, right?
Yes.
All right. So at this point, then all I have to do is say File, Recognize, and it gives me all the files. Do I want to recognize the lyrics or not? I will tell you that lyrics do not, it'll get about 60% of the lyrics under the best circumstances.
I see.
So I tend to not like bringing in lyrics, but I'm just going to go ahead and let it do it. Limit to triplets. This thing here, this join offset voices, I do find that if I make this a little bit wider, that what it's looking at is a stacked note head, on the same stem, and if it's not, if it's too narrow, then it begins to spread out errors. I'm not using fretboard, so who cares? So begin recognition, boom, boom, boom. Okay. And now this next thing is do I want, yes, I do unify the key signatures because I'm not using instruments in transposition.
Right.
So that's good. I base it on the topmost line. It doesn't matter. Yes, unify the time signatures. Don't unify clef signs, but I do unify the system, staff, and line spacing. If you've got a thing, let's say like this one does, the first system has no voice parts. It's just piano. You can get
Oh,
some unpredictable results. Sometimes the piano part will suddenly end up being the soprano part.
right.
So. And I say yes, and it does that. And I save it as an ENF file, and then I say File.
You save it as an ENF file.
Yeah, it does that automatically. I
Okay.
don't know what that's something specific to this software. Then I'm gonna save. Let me save it in a different place so that I know where I've saved it. Uh, La Vida Loca 2. I just save it. Boom, boom, boom. Now I'm done. Now I go back into Finale, and I'm going to close that. So Finale. Oh, you all can't see this. Give me a second. Let me get Finale open. Where are you, Finale? There you are.
How many others of you are familiar with Smart Score 64? Am I the only neophyte?
No, I don't know too much about it.
It's new. Okay.
Okay.
There are alternative programs. There's one that is web-based and AI-powered called SoundSlice. SoundSlice is the title of the other one. And it works pretty well. And what it will do is actually ask you if it has a question about something, rather than making an assumption, it will actually, after you import the file, the PDF or whatever, it'll actually ask you, like, is this an eighth note or is this something else? So again, I find that it's not perfect, but it is more accurate than some of the other software that I've used in the past.
Yeah, I have to say that this one sometimes nails it, and sometimes it just really doesn't.
So John, while you're doing that, I'd love to, if I can, I just ask the whole group a question about workflow, because my MO has been to work pretty early in Finale and do the arranging, the creative work there. And then while I'm still in that file, I do all the consolidation of the parts in order to get it efficient on the page. And that's, like I said, when the priority has been to make it as condensed as possible and really clean for the singers, no superfluous stuff, that works pretty well. But when you combine with it the need now for having these independent lines for AI practice recordings, I think there might be a different workflow that's better. And I haven't begun to think what that would be.
Well, I would say if you start with the more expanded, then you can
Yes.
always condense, or what do they call it in Finale, where you take multiple lines and you smush them down to one?
Implode.
Collapse.
Yeah, make collapse.
Implode.
Yeah, implode. That's it, implode. And you could then easily do that. And then just when you end up with a master score that's got the individual parts as well as like tenor one, tenor two, tenor three, or whatever you decide to do. And then when you create your PV score that you're going to give to your singers, you export, you extract a part and you leave it linked so that if you make changes in the masters, it'll make the change in the linked parts. And
I
then you
get
don't.
it. It adds a few notation work, but it's well worth it in the long run.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. So here I'm going to bring in this Livin' La Vida Loca that I just did. And I'm going to open it up and you all will get to see. Now, can you all see that? No, I bet you cannot because I see that you're. All right. Now,
Wow.
now let me view this in, where's my,
So we're looking at a finale file.
yeah,
Oh, right.
scroll view. Here we go. And so you see that it adds all this, it brings in all that text and stuff like that. So that's easy enough to get rid of.
Sure.
But you can see that like right off the bat, there's something weird going on over here, and you got a lot of text in here you have to get rid of. But getting rid of the text is fairly simple. But you can just sit down and sort of figure it out. I do find that if it's an actual scanned part, like I've put the music through my scanner, that its accuracy deteriorates. If it's something that was produced like from Finale and done natively, and I'm not, copied a copy of a copy, then I'm pretty good. It does better.
Very good. Well, I have the sense that the most efficient way is to do the expended score first. It might even actually help in the creative process for all I know. Get that done, pump that out for files to make your practice recordings, and then make it pretty for the page.
I think, that's what I would do. And I would just end up imploding the scores and then extracting those parts to create your piano vocal score. And
Yeah.
make sure you leave them linked or whatever Dorico does. I may be the last person in captivity that makes the leap to Dorico. I'm trying, but
I'm in that camp too. I spent a colossal amount of time this summer learning, and after tripling the amount of time to do an arrangement and then looking at the task list ahead of me, I just thought I just can't do it. So I went back to Finale, and I'll once I've stubbed my toes enough times, then I'll relent and go to Dorico. Okay, here we go. But not yet.
when the next
So in the half-hour session before this, Eric talked us through the basics, and I don't know what you felt like, Gabe, but I just felt like it was really exciting. Some
Yeah.
new things that Dorico does that are much, much easier than Finale. Anyway, there's a half-hour video you can go and watch of that session, but he created a
Jane, how do
whole
I
web
how
page
do I
for
access
us.
that? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
send it out to the group
Oh, I
afterwards.
love that. All right, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
What else? Do you want to do some Q&A or
yeah.
Any other questions?
I have to tell you, the first time you do it, it will take you a couple of hours. The second time you do it, it will take you 15 minutes.
wow.
Now, and it won't be perfect. It's not something you're going to want to put out on a website or anything like that. But for teaching people's notes and rhythms and
Yeah.
pitches, which is what we're doing, and supporting the memorization process,
Can you add other instruments besides piano?
you can, and they have like if you want to export anything, like let's say you've got a whole orchestra you can export that as a single MIDI file.
Okay.
Wave, or you can individually export instruments and then just pull them in. It supports some instruments, like it has a violin function, but I don't like it. I'm a string player, so
Yeah.
I have, I like the MIDI, frankly, better than that. So
And John, what does it cost to purchase the ACE software?
that is a really good question. I don't
I can
remember.
speak to that.
Good.
It's they actually are very flexible. You can buy the license outright for I think it's $300,
That's
maybe
about
a little less, or you can pay monthly, and then once you reach $300, you own the software in perpetuity. So you can pay a small, I think it's $6 or $7 a month, and then after 2 or 3 years, you'll own the software. And the company has promised that once you own it, and you'll get all updates forever. So it's not subscription based like Sibelius or something like that. I think it's very accessible from a financial standpoint right now. The other thing to keep in mind is that this software is very much still in development. I just got invited to the beta for the 2.0. And I'll tell you, the beta is not working very well right now. 2.0. So like this technology is still emerging. We're going to want to revisit this conversation in a year, 3 years, 5 years. And I think we'll find that the landscape has changed dramatically at each of those moments.
Yeah.
It's probably only a matter of time before this type of software is integrated directly into our notation software. That's my prediction. I think that's the natural endpoint. They already have ways to integrate Ace Studio into a DAW. So if you're working in Logic or Pro Tools or something like that, you can use the software concurrently. I think getting it into Dorico and Sibelius or whatever is probably the end game for this type of stuff.
I'd have to agree.
Question real quick. I'm on their website now, and there are two different versions. There's the Artist version and the Artist Pro version. Which one are you using?
I think I'm using the Artist Pro, but let me check that out and see if it will tell me. Let's see. About a Studio. Let's see if it does move.
And then I believe the Artist Pro version is very similar, but it gives you the option to do more stacks. Is that what you're seeing?
That's what I'm seeing on their website as well.
Yeah.
The price you quoted, I think, was for the regular Artist one. So just
I
wanted to
see.
make sure.
Well,
Sure.
actually, the only difference is it says shared project storage is 3 gig versus 10 gig. Otherwise, in their lineup, it looks to me like everything else is the same. Oh, okay. Custom vocal synth model slots, you have more. Okay, yeah,
That's what I'm wondering about too.
yeah. Interesting.
Can't tell you what I'm using. I don't see anything that tells me. I'm just using version 1.9.12. That's all I can tell you.
Maybe I'll just also note that there are a few people within the GALA network who you can hire to do your rehearsal tracks. And we had another webinar, oh man, 6 or 8 months ago with those folks on. But again, that's changed so much. So Gabe, maybe we can talk about a web page that actually links to some of those people that you can hire if you don't want to do this yourself.
That's a good idea.
We
Yeah.
have been using Matt Curtis at Choral Tracks.
Yeah.
He's got by far the largest library already
Yeah.
existing. The
Yeah.
problem that we had with him was for new things, he was taking longer and longer and longer. And we would often get things after the performance. And then the errors that he has no quality control in there. And so sometimes they just make shit up. It's like, where did you get this? It's not even, it's like that whole little figure you just did is wrong. And so we were having to listen to everything going, well, in tenor 2, in measure 51, he sings a C, but really you should be singing a D or God knows what else. And in tenor 2s, the ending of this is just wrong. Just ignore it. Because and you tell him and he'd get really huffy with you, like, how dare you point out something that I did wrong? Or, so I did it wrong. Okay, well, it's not fixing it. No. And he charges just as much for the wrong ones as he does for the right ones.
Yes.
Now, I will say, we cut the cord, But now we have gone back, because when you're trying to, if you have to create everything again, and he's got 60% of what we're doing, so we're doing a hybrid thing where we get some of it from him, but all the new stuff we're creating ourselves.
I don't know about you, but I feel like he's been a little bit more responsive to this season for me, like within a day.
Because I read him for filth. I just was very clear with him. Stop whining.
Well, thanks.
So, Braeden, are you also using the ACE software? Because we have a bunch of options for which software we could use, right?
Ace software is the one that I have been using more than anything. I think the other one is, what is it, V something?
Yeah.
I can't remember what the other one is called, but I also remember trying it out and going, wow, this has a steep learning curve. Whereas Ace feels much more intuitive. And as long as you can learn its little idiosyncrasies, which hopefully will get smoothed out in future iterations, I think it's more user-friendly.
Okay, cool.
And certainly more affordable.
Yeah, and I don't see why they wouldn't be a sponsor of like the symposium.
Oh, good idea.
I really think they could be. I mean, I'm glad to do this. Braeden and I are glad to do this workshop, over and over again.
But John, you're saying even have them come in and do a demo, that kind of thing?
They could, because they'll know the software better because there's several things that I don't know how to do. Like you can take your own voice and create a voice.
Oh, interesting.
And
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm not likely to do that.
Well, and then maybe they do a special gala price, I don't I mean, they should, right? If we could promote this yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Hundreds of courses and, lots more than that individuals within the course.
Yeah.
Braeden, do you have anything else that you'd like to add or say?
No, John did a fabulous job.
You are very kind. I do want to say one other thing while I've got this thing up here, because I forgot to say this. When you are creating blended voices, you see that they're both the timbre and the style are moving in concert.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can undo that, and I think this is a way you can unlink them. There we go. And this is a way I think the style is the thing that determines all of that, the slurpy slidey stuff, and then the timbre, just sort of how much of it you want. Just experiment with it until you get what you like, save it, and then you can use it the next time.
Cool.
All right. Any other questions, guys?
If any of you decide to try it and then get stuck, holler.
Yeah. Thanks, John. And again, I'll post links to the videos and to everything that we did today, to all the directors. Cool. Well, thank you both, and thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.